Hi, and welcome to the Pink Movement podcast with your host, Christy Collier. Each episode, you'll hear from some awesome people in and around the breast cancer world, sharing their wisdom on all things health and well-being. You'll hear simple information, practical advice, and useful tips to help you stress less, move more, and feel better.
Please note that this podcast contains general information only and should not be treated as medical advice. Hi everyone, Christy Collier here, and thanks for joining me on episode 14 of the Pink Movement podcast. If you haven't already, head over to our website, thepinkmovement.com.au, where you can catch up on previous episodes, sign up to the newsletter, and check out the latest news articles. Also, if you know someone going through breast cancer, tell them about this podcast. The more we can spread the word, the more women we can reach, and the more women we can help. Now, on to today's episode. Today, it's all about utilising the support services available to you after a breast cancer diagnosis. Now, there's actually tons out there, and if you haven't already listened to previous episodes of this podcast, go back and have a listen to episode 6, which is all about the YWCA Encore program, and episode 8, which is the Look Good, Feel Better program. And there's more services to come in future episodes as well. But today I'm chatting with Liz Hing from the Cancer Council. Liz is going to introduce us to and share with us the amazing support service that is the Healthy Living After Cancer program. Now, I won't spoil it by going into it in too much depth, but this is a free, personalised program available to all of us out there who have been through breast cancer and have finished treatment. And the results to date have been pretty amazing. They've included weight loss, improvement in BMI, increased intake of fruit and vegetables, improvement in diet and physical activity levels, better sleep, lessened stress around cancer recurrence, and improvement in chronic disease prevention. Now, I don't know about you, but who wouldn't want all or even some of that? Liz also shares with us today some tips on how you can kickstart your healthy living. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. Liz Hing is the Healthy Living After Cancer consultant on the Healthy Living After Cancer program at Cancer Council New South Wales. Liz has worked at Cancer Council New South Wales for 5.5 years, starting in the nutrition unit and then working on the 131120 phone service before taking on the role of Healthy Living After Cancer consultant 2 years ago. Liz holds a Bachelor of Health degree and has also completed levels 1, 2 and 3 of the Health and Wellness Coaching through Wellness Coaching Australia. In her free time, Liz does volunteer work for the Cancer Council in cancer advocacy, another of her passions. She also likes painting and spending time with her family. Here to tell us all about the Healthy Living After Cancer program, please welcome to the Pink Movement podcast, Liz Hing.
Oh, thank you, Christy, and I really appreciate coming on and talking to you and to all the women out there about our Healthy Living After Cancer program.
Oh, it's a pleasure, and thank you for taking time out of your day to join us today. Now, today we are going to talk about the Healthy Living After Cancer program, and it falls in line with the topic of today's podcast, which is utilising the support services available to you after a breast cancer diagnosis. Now, we know that there is lots of information out there on the World Wide Web, but I think one of the most important things is to make sure that you search for credible information and that it is, credible and reputable information. So for someone with a breast cancer diagnosis, there's probably two of the best places out there for you to start. One of them is BCNA, but the other one is also the Cancer Council. Now, the Cancer Council offers a huge range of support services, and these include, but by no means are limited to, their phone line, the 131120 phone line, and that's pretty much the place to start. They can tell you about absolutely everything they can do for you based on your individual circumstances. But definitely check out the website as well. And on there, you'll find lots of information. So the Cancer Council also offers pro bono legal and financial services. They have accommodation assistance. There is counselling and support groups. There are free webinars and workshops, which I've done both of those things over the years on a range of topics. If you're looking at the exercise side of things, there are actually exercise videos on their website that you can watch and follow. And then when you're looking at ways to get active, eat better and feel better, there's 2 programs on offer by the Cancer Council. The first is a face-to-face program called Enrich, and the second is a telephone program called Healthy Living After Cancer. And the Healthy Living After Cancer program is really what we're going to delve into today. So, Liz, we might just kick things off with you just telling us, I suppose, giving us an overview of what exactly is the Healthy Living After Cancer program and how does it work?
Thanks, Christy. That was a great introduction, by the way. And as you said, if people want to access any of our services, an easy way to remember it is 13 11 20. So that the phone number can get you to any of the services that Christy just mentioned. But the Healthy Living After Cancer program, it's a very personalised health coaching program in a nutshell. So what we do is we work one-on-one with someone over the phone. It's a free health coaching program over the phone, and we set goals around getting more active, around diet, nutrition, and making lifestyle changes. So at the beginning of the program, before you even start, we do a very comprehensive pre-assessment, which really gives a really good overview of where your health is at the moment, what your cancer journey has been, and what your current lifestyle habits are. And then together we work over a 6-month period with approximately 12 calls to make lifestyle changes. And it is around that sort of model of goal setting and working together, looking at what barriers there might be and looking at solutions around that, but very much driven by the client. It's their goals. It's not a top-down approach. I don't tell people what to do. We work together with what's going to work for you, because we actually all know in our heart what's right and we're all bombarded with health information all the time. And it's actually about empowering people to be the best judge of their own health, really, because we've all got the knowledge, and it's just empowering people to put that knowledge into place, really. That's the whole model of health coaching, which is why health coaching it's a newish sort of thing that's, only been around a few years, really, but it's really exciting. What I like about it is it's not telling people what to do or giving them a particular diet and then expecting them to stick to it, because nobody likes that. It's finding what's going to work for you.
Yeah, okay. So, and it's called health coaching. So when you're talking about the elements of health, you're talking about activity and movement. You're talking about nutrition and diet. I don't like to use the word diet, but we know what we mean. And some mindset work in there as well. Definitely.
So it is about the whole person. I mean, in our program, it's part of a research project out of the University of Queensland. So the University of Queensland is, doing this program in New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia and Western Australia to do some research about, we know that making health changes works with people. We know that. And we know that health coaching works. So it's actually testing the intervention of a telephone-delivered program to, sort of broad population of cancer patients and seeing if this telephone-delivered method works for cancer patients. So that's what at the heart of it is at the moment, is research. So, and we're getting some good results. because it's part of a university study, we are looking primarily with results around weight, around diet, around physical activity. We're also looking at results around people's quality of life, mental quality of life, whether there's, symptoms have lessened throughout the program, and also their fear of cancer reoccurrence. So they're the sort of the things we're looking at. So because of that, primarily we're setting goals around physical activity, diet, nutrition, weight. However, often through the conversation, because it is very personalised, people will say one of their biggest, somebody might say, well, sleep is something that I'm really struggling with and I really want to set goals around that. So I will work with people around that because that is going to add to their, just quality of life, mental quality of life, and also help it. And if you can get the sleep right, you're going to have more energy to feel like you're going to make goals and achieve goals around your physical activity and other aspects of your life. So that's very important.
Oh, that's really interesting. So it's there are obviously lots of tools that you can share with the people utilising the service, but it's by no means a one-size-fits-all. It's really about tailoring and coaching, which again is the term I want to sort of delve into a bit more, people who use this service to achieve what they need to achieve to address the issues that they're facing after their cancer.
Absolutely. So as you say, it's not a one-size-fits-all. It really is about the first, phone call is all about getting to the heart of what people really want out of the program, the changes that they're sort of wanting to make. And of course, every call is like that. So because as people sort of, you get to know them more, there are other things that they want to work on and make changes around and need support about. So the coaching is about finding the why behind the why in a way. So why, if somebody wants to make a change, for example, around physical activity, they want to get more active. However, they're finding it a struggle. It's about finding out what are those barriers. What are the barriers? Because you want to start you want to get more physically active, but there are barriers there. So it's finding the why behind the why, and trying to find the support for them that's going to work for them. So it's a great model actually, and it's also all about positive psychology. It's looking for what people are doing well and building on that, and using people's strengths. So everybody's got varying different strengths. And it's looking at finding what are your strengths and how can you use those strengths to support the changes you're going to make around physical activity or diet, or, if weight loss is a goal. Because a lot of people, report that they put on 10 kilos through their cancer treatment and they want to get back to their pre-cancer weight because that's going to be something that's going to make them feel normal again.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a common side effect of the treatments and the various medications and things. So it is certainly amongst women that I'm aware of, and I'm sure men are the same. It happens. So where it may not have been an issue in your life before, on top of cancer, it can become an issue down the track. So, certainly weight management and weight gain following a cancer diagnosis is, are issues.
Yes, definitely. And it doesn't matter what cancer it is. So this is a program that's available to anyone who's had a cancer diagnosis and have finished their active treatment for the cancer. So not just, breast cancer, which I know, you're passionate about, but all cancers. So, and that's great because there's a lot of lesser known cancers out there or not as well sort of, funded.
Yeah, the awareness isn't as big, is it?
The awareness is not as good, and so they don't have so many services. So it's really great to support anyone who's had a cancer diagnosis once they've finished their treatment to get back to their health. And because the evidence is really strong that if people do make lifestyle changes, it's going to really help with not only, future cancer recurrence, but also other chronic diseases. So, one of the wonderful things about cancer treatment at the moment is that people who've had cancer treatment have usually often got very good outcomes. And so they're not, they're going to sort of live long and healthy lives after their cancer treatment's over. But it's also helping to set them up for not developing any other chronic diseases further down the track, like heart disease or diabetes. So it's looking at supporting their lifestyle so that their ongoing health is going to be not just cancer-free, but disease-free.
Okay, and obviously that's really important too. I mean, health in general, as we know, is very, very important that we, focus on a healthy lifestyle. But obviously, following a cancer diagnosis, as you say, any type of cancer, it becomes, I wouldn't say more important, but you've got to keep focusing on it. And I think that's where a service such as this, the Healthy Living After Cancer program, is just such a great initiative. And I think I want to just touch on one of the things you mentioned there before. So the coaching element of it. I suppose what I would like to know is, what can somebody who uses the service really expect? So we've touched on the fact that it's a 6-month program, and over that 6 months they would receive 12 calls. They'll do a first call of really understanding, doing a pre-assessment and really understanding the issues there. In each of those other calls, I suppose what can somebody expect when we're talking about things like nutrition and physical activity and those sorts of things? Are you recommending programs to them? Are you providing general nutritional advice or recommending recipes or types of diet, or how does it actually work?
Well, all of the above. So, and a really good question, actually. So everybody who signs up for the program gets sent a Healthy Living After Cancer participant workbook. And basically, for the first 5 weeks or first 5 calls, which, so for the first month, calls are weekly, and they're weekly to establish those good routines and with the client and to really kickstart the program. So for the first month, we work really through the workbook in a way. And so we always start with, or we try to always start with, physical activity as the first thing. So after our first call, which is very much sort of talking to the client about what their expectations are and what things they really want to work out, and also telling them a bit about how the program works and why goal setting is so important. And we also do another thing in the program that's called tracking, which is tracking your progress. Those two things, and I'll talk about those a little bit later if you like, because it might just help people at home if they want to just start something themselves. Those two skills can make a world of difference to your health outcomes, and I'll tell you a little bit why that's so. But we start with physical activity, and the reason we start with physical activity is because the evidence around physical activity is really strong when it comes to cancer. So it's very, very strong that people who embark or start doing regular physical activity, and by that we're sort of talking 30 minutes 5 days a week, 30 minutes or more of sort of moderate intense activity 5 or more days a week, their health outcomes, and there's been a lot of very detailed studies through lots of different universities, are extremely positive. So exercise, in fact, to the point where I read one research paper that actually said that physical activity you do at the time and after your cancer diagnosis can be likened it to as being as beneficial in the long run, in the long term, as the chemotherapy or the treatment you have at the time. So doing that physical activity is really important for your long-term ongoing health. especially around a cancer diagnosis. So we start with physical activity. And so in the first week, we talk all about what do you like doing. So we find out, what sort of physical activity have you done in the past that you've enjoyed, or what sort of things do you like doing? And so we talk around that, and we talk about why it's so important, and a lot of listening to what they like doing, and also a lot of listening to any barriers that they have currently around starting physical activity programs or going for a walk. There might be, as you know, after a cancer diagnosis, sometimes the treatment can leave you with side effects that make getting back to exercise really tricky. So really understanding what those barriers are and looking at what we can suggest to perhaps solutions to trying to sort of overcome them, or what could be done. So, and then we set a goal, a very simple goal. So with the goals, they're what we call SMART goals. So they're very, very specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, timely goals. So, you may have a big, broad aim or vision that, you'd like to, you might say, Liz, by the end of this program, I would like to be a regular exerciser and, really feel like I've got my health back and that I have more energy to do things. And so that's sort of a big, broad aim. And so it's looking at making little small goals that can reach that bigger, broader aim. So a first goal might be something like, okay, what I'm going to do, my first goal this week, Liz, is what I can commit to doing is I could walk on 3 mornings a week, and I'm going to make those mornings, say, a Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday, and I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. in the morning and do that 30-minute walk. And so that's a SMART goal because it's very specific. It's measurable. I'm going to do it for 30 minutes, 3 days a week. It's achievable. So we've had a discussion around, how it fitting into your busy week of work or life. Is it achievable? What are the sort of steps you could put in place to make it achievable? Oh, well, I'll set my alarm earlier, or I'll get my husband to help me with the kids in the morning on those mornings, or whatever things you need to put in place to actually achieve the goal. And realistic, am I able to do it? If it was joining a gym, it might be, is it realistic? Is it, from a cost point of view, from a time point of view, all of those things. So we set SMART goals that help reach those bigger, broader aims.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting. And it really is, you're really touching on that real coaching element there, which is you're really just helping people reach those bigger, broad goals by helping them break it down into smaller, achievable goals and guide them along the way. And perhaps, probably not so much, but there's a little bit of accountability because there's constant coaching from you.
That's right. And so, I'll sort of say to them after they've set their goal, I'll say, now, that's fantastic, and, we'll speak next week. Now, thinking about your week ahead, you've just set this great goal, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you think you can do this goal this week? And that's also good because it's sort of, they're thinking about it, and they're by even just sort of saying, look, you know what, I feel that's an 8 out of 10. I can definitely achieve that this week. They're giving themselves that positive reassurance that they're going to get there. If they say, oh, God, Liz, I've just had to think, next week's a terrible week, school holidays are starting, and, in all honesty, I know what it's like, breakfast time, school holidays. Actually, I think it's probably only a 4 out of 10. And so then we'll sort of say, well, okay, for this next week then, what might be achievable? Reset it, because we want, it's important to achieve your goals. So setting a goal that's too big or not achievable isn't we need to sort of build on them, build on the goals. So it's better to even say, look, you know what, realistically achievable during the holidays is only one day a week, and that's going to be a Saturday when my husband can help me. That's like, great. That's a great goal. Let's do that one, So it's achievable goals.
Yeah, so it's that coaching is coming through more and more the more I hear you explain how the service works, and that's really interesting. I mean, we often hear people say to us, just exercise, just do this, just do that, without any real conscious decision of setting a goal or breaking it down in terms of, well, how am I going to do that? So it's a really interesting, I suppose, process that you go through with them.
And when it comes to so the first week we do focus on exercise, talk a lot about it. It's in a whole section of it is in the booklet that they read themselves. So I'm not kind of top down talking to them so much because they've read the information themselves, and we'll go through the booklet together, but they've already read it. Or if they haven't had a chance, we do go through it together by page, and then the following week we work on nutrition or food. So, and again, someone might have a broad aim, like they might say, I just want to eat healthier, and just because I know it'll make me feel better, and since my chemo, my taste buds have changed, and all I feel like eating is McDonald's. I do actually hear that a lot.
I bet. I believe you.
Yeah. And so it's sort of, then working through and setting a really small, smart goal. So it might be, we have a broad aim in the program of 5 serves of veg and 2 serves of fruit a week, because, eating vegetables, vegetables are low in calories and very high in nutrition and fibre and vitamins. So increasing your vegetables is one of our aims in this program. So, it might be that currently they're eating maybe 2 serves of vegetables a day when we sort of talk about it and we hear what they're eating. So we might sort of, they might say, oh, you know what, this week I could commit to having 1 more serve of vegetables a day. And that will be their goal. And that's building on that goal to eat healthier. So it's just constantly, it's not they're not going to say, well, as of tomorrow, I'm going to wake up and have, the healthiest diet in the world and never eat another piece of chocolate or biscuit, or because that's not achievable. That's not realistic in the real world. It's looking at what could I commit to doing that's going to benefit my health.
Yeah, so it's very much guiding them, isn't it?
Yeah, and they set their own goals, so they're taking ownership of their health, and I think that's one of the things that hasn't worked with the current sort of popular model of the way medicine is sometimes delivered. Is it's very top down, and people tell you what to do without actually understanding what your drivers are and what you're dealing with at home, or all sorts of things. So it's getting people to sort of tailor their own what's going to work for them. Really,
I mean, it's a personalised. It turns into a very personalised service for that individual. It's a service that tailors around them and their lifestyle and their history of what they've done previously in all those areas you mentioned, in the activity and the nutrition and so on. So it's, it's a really different type of service than what's on offer out there for a lot of other services, which is one size fits all. Very tailored and unique approach.
And the other thing I mentioned earlier was tracking, and it's tracking to help them. It's not so much because I want to know what they've eaten every week or I need to know everything. It's more tracking for their own benefit, so it keeps them accountable as well. So so they track their physical activity. And in the first week, I'll say, before we even talk the first week, I'll say, can you just keep a track, and we have a physical activity tracker that is in the booklet, of what activity you've done this week and what days of the week you did it and for how long you've done it, so we can talk about that next week. And they do the same with food. And tracking is quite important, especially when it comes to something like weight loss, because people will say, Liz, I do eat a really healthy diet and, no matter what I do, I can't lose weight. And, it must be the hormonal therapies that I'm on or, I really do try. And it is true, they are eating a really healthy diet. So tracking is really important because what it does as well, it helps them understand when it comes to weight loss, it is that old equation of energy in and energy out. So it's about understanding the food you're eating and not sort of cutting back and depriving yourself of foods, but making sort of swapping different things that have maybe lower calories in them but are going to sort of be just as satisfying for other foods. So it's that little tiny tweaks in your diet that can make a huge difference when it comes to weight loss. So it's not changing the way you're eating, going on a diet. It's making little tiny tweaks, and that's where tracking is important because it helps you see where you can tweak things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. And again, another really important point there of tracking and the benefits that it can have on all elements, certainly the physical activity and the nutrition side of things.
It helps people sort of, and it's also very rewarding. So I don't know if and so we recommend, or there's lots of ways that we sort of, can, help people do that. There's lots of great free apps available. One great free app that I often recommend is called MyFitnessPal. It's a great app.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I recommended that in a previous podcast, actually. It's a great one.
It's a great app. And it's also, and look, the Fitbit, how successful is the Fitbit or any of those sort of, trackers, wearable trackers that people have it's not only does it make you accountable, but it also is motivating. So when your Fitbit goes off when you've done your 10,000 steps or whatever you've set it for, your goal is, it's very motivating. It makes you want to get to that goal because you look at it and you go, oh gosh, I've only got X amount more steps and I'll reach my goal. So it spurs you on. So tracking also has that other benefit of reward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can totally relate with the Fitbit and the tracking and those types of things. Now, Liz, with the service, obviously it's available to anyone who has had a cancer diagnosis, not just breast cancer. Are there any prerequisites, or obviously it's after you have finished your treatment? Is there anything else that is a requirement to access the program?
Yes, so because it is part of a research study at the moment, we do have some eligibility criteria. And the main eligibility criteria is it's only available for people over the age of 18 and over at this point, so adults. People who it's delivered at the moment, it's just delivered in English, and our booklet is in English, so proficiency of English speaking. And this is because it's all part of research, and maybe in the future we'll be able to offer it in other languages. Have finished treatment for cancer, active treatment, so finished their chemotherapy, radiation therapy, can be on hormonal therapies or treatments such as Herceptin. So because those treatments are often, for 10 years or more. So if you're on those treatments, you can, of course, sign up, but it's more just that active treatment of chemo and radiation.
Okay, and what about, just a snapshot, I suppose. I know there's probably a lot we could share, but the outcomes that the service has had so far.
So the outcomes are really, really positive. So, in terms of, weight, just looking at the whole program, because it is research, we can sort of measure, and we do pre and post. So from pre to post program, the outcomes are with weight on an average. If you go across the whole population of people who've signed up, they're on average, losing somewhere between 2.5 and 3 so 2.5 kilos on average. So about, improving health improvements there. BMIs are going down, so the average BMI going into the program is they're going into the program at sort of above healthy BMIs, and we're substantially seeing BMIs getting back into that healthy range, which is really good. Fruit and veg serves, on average across the board, increased by 0.4 serves, which mightn't sound a lot, but by head of population, that's actually a really big improvement. Making dietary changes is around fruit and veg and sustaining them, is hard, especially around fruit and veg. So that's a really good improvement. With vegetables, people improve their vegetable intake per day on average by 1.1 serves. So that's huge. And sort of looking at other things, and especially what's really exciting, because the program does focus on lifestyle changes, primarily physical activity and diet. These spin-off effects are that the improvements to mental quality of life are really, really big. Symptom severity, so when we ask them how their symptoms have been after the treatment, they've great improvements. And fear of cancer recurrence is also really improved on our scale. So they're really heartening results. We're very pleased with that. And quality of life, which is another questions we ask around quality of life, they're showing almost a large improvement there.
Which is fantastic, and I think for our ladies that are listening, they're just an example of the types of results that you might be able to achieve, you could possibly achieve if you're interested in being involved in this program. And obviously you can be absolutely anywhere to access this service, which is a huge, huge benefit, especially for those in rural and remote areas around Australia. And one of the things we have forgotten to mention about the service is that it's completely free, obviously.
Yes, it's free. And people can also, on our website, and Cancer Council New South Wales website is www.cancercouncil.com.au. We have got the Healthy Living After Cancer referral forms, so people can just self-refer as well. So if you're interested in finding out more about it, you can just click on the referral forms, fill out your details, and someone will call you back to give you more information on the program, if you don't want to call 13 11 20.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So I would encourage our listeners, our ladies that are listening out there, those of you that have finished your cancer treatment, whether you've just finished or you're a little bit down the track and do want to look at improving your health and well-being, then definitely give this service a go. Obviously, it's a one-on-one personalised coaching service that can have really great outcomes for you. So if you are interested, definitely go and check out the information on the website, or you can call the 13 11 20 number and take it from there. But Liz, thank you very much for joining us on the Pink Movement podcast today. It's been a real pleasure learning all about the Healthy Living After Cancer program.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me, because it's been wonderful to be able to talk to you and get the information out there about the program. So I really appreciate it. And I think you're doing a great job with these podcasts.
Oh,
fantastic.
You. Thanks, Liz. Look, it's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, the podcasts are a great support for people as well. Great support for people at home who just want to get more information. So it's great. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Pink Movement podcast. For episode notes, links and downloads, head to thepinkmovement.com.au. Like what you're hearing? Join our Facebook page, subscribe through iTunes, and while you're there, provide a quick review. Want to help out? You can support the ongoing production of this podcast by becoming a patron. Find all the details on the website. The Pink Movement Podcast, helping you to stress less, move more, and feel better.